Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to another weekend KPC live. And today I'm going to be talking about a Korea Unfiltered session about anything. Like, you can ask anything you want towards me. I'll answer your questions as much as I can. It can be out of all boundaries. It could be the dark side. It could be some things that were too niched or nuanced that you wanted to ask about and whatnot. Everything like that. So prepare your questions while you're watching. And if you're among the replay gang, don't worry. I'll timestamp each question and each segment so that you can just swipe through and see what kind of questions you're interested in. So yeah, please use that function if you're watching afterwards. And before we go in, you might have noticed on the screen over here that there is a new podcast episode waiting for you guys by the time you're done watching this live stream on Patreon. As a matter of fact, this live stream is going to end in an hour and a half at 2 a.m. KST, and we're going to move on to the Patreon live stream, the exclusive podcast, where I'm going to be talking about this subject here: life, death, and family, Korean funerals, A to Z. Rest in peace, Grandpa. If you know, you know already. Thank you for all your condolences. I read every single one of your messages on DM, whether they've been replied or not, emails, Kakao Talk messages, everything. So thank you so much. I have rested well. My spirit is good. We sent him with respect, and yeah, all is good. So yeah, anyways, all you have to do to access this is go on over to Patreon. You can see the link over here, patreon.com/koreanpizzaclub. Sign up as a free member. No payment required. Sign up as a free member. This only applies to the people that are watching the real-time stream right now. So the replay gang might not have the opportunity to actually watch this free. So yeah, for those of you who are watching right now, go over here, sign up for the free membership, and you'll have access to this episode right after this live stream. So anyways, yeah, I thought it would be an interesting topic, but also a heavy and kind of dark one, or maybe a too much of a niched deep one. So I thought just switching it to Patreon would be a better option. But anyways, let's go on with today's live stream. And just to let you guys know, I'm okay. I've recovered really well. I've been just, I went to church today. I've been hanging out with my mom and dad and my family, and we've been having a good time, just chilling after the funeral, and we're all in good spirit. So let me just get more into that in the stream afterwards, okay? And I know all your concerns, but I'm good. Okay, I'm just gonna read one of these messages and move on. I'm very sorry, David. My heart is with you. I've lost my grandma. May God comfort your heart and your family. Sending prayers. Thank you so much, Hilda, and each and every one of you who are sending your regards in the chat. Yes, yes, Ryan, I've also read your message as well too, so thank you so much. All right, hi all. Okay, so anyways, let's go on with today's stream. As you can see in the title, Korea Unfiltered, no boundaries today. Your questions, my answers. It's as simple as that. You guys ask your questions, and if you can if you can send super chats, those will definitely be prioritized and appreciated for sure. And yeah, no questions are out of boundaries unless they are not, what do you call them? Like racist, homophobic, anything against community guidelines and policies. Okay. So yeah, and also while you guys are just jotting up your questions, a quick shout out to Sherry, who sent me over all the way from San Diego an amazing MLS official merch from LA, Los Angeles Football Club, with the one and only Sonny. Yes, son. It's perfect fit. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, also a big shout out because she got me some Cheetos as well too. I got 3 bags. I'm already down with 2. I got a little stressed, quite honestly, over the weekend. So yeah, there was like a 50% fat one. I finished that one in one go, and then we have 2 left. My mom loves it, my dad loves it, so big shout out. Thank you so much. I love the t-shirt. I love the black and gold look. Yes. Such a cool gift, I know, right? Everyone. Please give a big shout out and clap to Sherry. Okay, yay, Sunny, yes. Just the tea, please. Yes, that's today's theme. I will drop some tea, okay? So, I see Michael in the chat. Hello. You usually ask some very interesting questions that are very niched or unthinked of from the audience. So yeah, you can maybe start with the chain of questions for today or anything. Yeah. So it's just going to be a chill live. I just honestly felt like talking. I thought of not doing a live stream in the first place because, you know, of the circumstances, the situation. But I was like, you know, I've mourned, and what would my grandpa like? He would definitely like me to go back into my daily circle and routine and get going again. And yeah, I feel like that's what he would want, and I feel like it would help me to talk with you guys and just spend time together and answering your questions and all. So I was like, yeah, let's just do it. Also, I saw some like motivational stuff on YouTube, so they were like, just do it. You got to do it every single day. Discipline, consistency. I'm like, okay, sunshine or rain, let's do it. Yeah. All right. Nick BD with a question. Let's see, what's going on with the podcast and the future of your channel? I saw on your stories that you hit watch time and something about funds. All right, thank you for the question. That's a direct question about my channel. So first of all, for the podcast, as you might have noticed, new episodes haven't been uploading. That is a fact, and there has been some realistic challenges. In the first place, I do have to explain that this program I'm going through here, it's like an acceleration program for creators from Gyeonggi Province. And their metric of being a successful creator under their program, it's like a competition, right? Is getting the most watch time. So this program goes on for like months, and for me to proceed to first phase, second phase, and third round, I gotta score as much points as I can. And while I was thinking about that, I don't get massive amount of views, so in order for me to score the most watch time as possible, live streams were the natural resolution, right? So that's what I thought of. It's been going well so far. I've advanced to the last third round, so I'm getting good funds from the program, which will support me throughout my journey. As for the podcast, you might have noticed that my background is a little downsized than before compared to the podcast when I had my studio. And also there are some dynamics where it's kind of awkward to bring in guests to my own personal space at home. I do intend to, there's actually absolutely no problem, but there are some hurdles such as like coordinating time schedules for different people all together and coming to my own personal space. There's no problem in me accommodating them, but what would they think if I were to invite them to my house, especially if they're females and such. So just figuring out some stuff. I don't intend to halt the podcast absolutely or definitively, so it's just on a halt phase. As soon as this program's done, I'm gonna start uploading again, so no worries about that. I know that you guys love my podcast and I appreciate it. So yeah, all right, so I think that answered your question maybe. And all right, okay, we have some hot tea over here. Kim Yoo-jung's dress at the Busan Film Festival had a very high slit. Was there speculation among Koreans that she wasn't wearing any underwear? Okay, I do not know about this, so let's see what happened. Alright, so apparently I searched up Kim Yoo-jung's dress at BIFF, Busan International Film Festival, which is very famous. And this is the dress. Oh, it had a very high slit. and you can see like her, I guess like her hips and pelvis. Wow, she's gorgeous. Like she's grown up so beautiful. I remember when she was like a child actor. But wow, like I think she's like is she my age? I don't know. Like are we around the same age? I think so. Maybe a little younger than me, but yeah, definitely a very I guess progressive look over here. And it looks very elegant, and I don't think it looks too over the top or anything. It just shows her beautiful body line, and it's not even that revealing in my opinion because it's just the side of it, and she's trained and exercised a lot for it, so why not go for it? Is it becoming a controversy? I don't know. Let's see. Well, there are definitely articles about it, and a lot of people. This article in particular says that um, she was actually declared as the worst dress for the show for the event. This article criticizes that her hairstyling and makeup and the mood was a little disappointing. Also, the dress's strong texture and very vivid existence looked pretty old and heavy. And also minimizing on accessories, but also focusing on exposure, like like revealing her skin and the deep slit and the shiny shoes. There was too many points. It was all over the place. So instead of being a complete dress or form, it was rather too much. I don't know. Do you think like really? I disagree. Maybe I'm just mesmerized by her beauty itself, but I don't really know if it's like a worst outfit. Yeah, I haven't really checked it out, but okay. It looks okay to me. It doesn't look too much. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't have taste. Yeah, but there are definitely a lot of articles about it. It says like the slit was up to her butt. It's very provocative, says the article over here. So I think why it's more provocative is as immediately I mentioned, I remember from the child actress ages, and she's apparently 25 right now, and apparently this is being emphasized a lot, even in the headlines of the articles. Yeah. So I think it's like a 180, a new kind of look that people weren't expecting, so they were kind of startled. But I feel like it's okay. I didn't hear of this. Like usually, if this is like a big fuss, it's going to be popping on my feed, no matter what, through Eyes Mag or other media outlets. But the fact that I didn't hear of this is probably a vocal minority on the internet, or internet communities just like hating on her or something. Yeah, like, she looks beautiful. What's the matter with her dress? Like nothing. I don't know. Rather than her, though, I did see some controversies about Chun Jong-seo. She was the one that did the ceremonial pitch for the LA Dodgers, and I saw so many criticism about like her having hip pads, allegedly. So yeah, that was on my feed for sure. So she was apparently at BIFF too, and she had dresses on recently for a lot of ceremonies, and apparently a lot of people were just, what do you call it, criticizing her for her like hip pads, allegedly. I don't know. I can't define if she's actually if she actually has hip pads or not. Who cares, quite honestly? But apparently it's like a big thing. So I think this was her dress. Yeah, she appeared together with Han So-hee on the red carpet together. And I don't know, her hips look a little bit extruded than usual, but are they hip pads? I don't know. Like I don't have that much interest in Chun Jong-seo in the first place to actually be a judge whether she had hip pads or not. I don't really care in the first place. So there were some controversies around hip pads regarding ITZY's Yuna, but we got to see like low waist cuts from ITZY's Yuna, but for Jeonjongsa, I don't know. So anyways, I don't think it's a big fuss. Yeah. I think I saw a super chat. Let me read that first. Wayland T, if that's how you pronounce it. Thank you so much for the €5. Love the content, David. Appreciate your hard work. Thank you so much. Pizza. Thank you. All right, let's go back to the hot questions. Nova. David, is there anything you really want to see changed in Korea, but people are too stubborn about to change? Wow, that's a good question. So that might need a little bit of thought. Let me think about that. Change in Korea, but people are too stubborn about to change. Let's see. Change in Korea. Wow. This feels like a job interview all of a sudden. Because if you're not prepared and something just doesn't pop up, something I would like people to change in Korea. Stubborn about to change. That's a really good question, though. Let me actually get the help of ChatGPT and see if anything resonates. What are some things Koreans are stubborn to change? Let's see if I resonate with any. Oh, yes. Oh, wow. Actually, a lot of these. Wow. So what ChatGPT is giving me right now is education, exams, workplace hierarchy, military service, beauty standards, food traditions, family expectations, drinking culture, housing obsession. Actually, everything, every one of these. But, all right, I will go on into... Actually, this might be a very controversial opinion if this opinion leaks out into the sphere of the Korean education scene. All right, so... I think this is my personal opinion, okay? So Korea's education system is all centered towards the CSAT, called Suneung, right? It's like the entry exam for college. Everyone is just taking a unilateral same test, and they prepare it early from like elementary school up to high school. It's your final destination, and it's your final standard metric test that defines you determines on what kind of college you're going to get into according to the score results, right? So my opinion on this is that I think honestly I'm not too radical as to go up to like, we should abolish this, but I feel like we should just downsize the importance of the Suneung exam at least to like a 50% level. So there are many pros and cons on this exam. First of all, everyone says that it's the most fair way for people to get recognized for their studies and their effort, because everyone's on the same playing field. Is that even true though? Like in this time and era where everyone's going to private education, hagwons and all that, like there's definitely a gap between the wealthy and but whatever. So by theory, it is the fairest way, right? It's the most fair, like the fairest way, because everyone's taking the same exam, same score metrics and all that. So like you could just line up people. But I think this lining up culture and the test itself, while it is fair, is kind of inefficient in my opinion, because like this exam is so huge that it determines a person's future the following 2 or 3 decades, or even your life. That's how important it is in Korea, because it determines which college you get in, which experiences, which networks you build, which companies you can go into, which salary you're going to get, which house you're going to live in. It's all like a snowball effect, right? So it's actually very important. That's why everyone's doing the rat race towards that. But in my opinion, after living, a modest 34 years of my life, I realized real life is not about like the books. Of course, general knowledge is very important. Like you should be able to point like on the map where the UK is and where distinguish where South America and North America is. Like, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, have basic knowledge about like who invented electricity, like how does I don't know, a motor engine work or something like that. Just basic knowledge about that. And one could argue even nowadays, like, you just have to know your own field of expertise and you can get the help of AI or Google or whatever, right? We have like a free internet information source. So what I'm trying to say is, because like taking that into account, like that in real life academics and like what you learn, like how a person gets defined based on his or her aptitude in being able to solve a math solution that you're probably not going to see in your entirety of your life, or like memorizing the history of 1800s Korea or whatever, or memorizing the names of all these independent warriors. That's very important. I'm not trying to downplay that. But like at the end of the day, like these kids aren't learning that just because of their passion or their craving for knowledge or anything. They're just doing it for the sake of the test and memorizing it. So at the end of the day, it's a memorizing test. So everyone's just fighting on the ability to memorize. One could argue about like mathematics and stuff. It's like problem solving and stuff too. But anyways, you get the point, right? So I would say they have to shift the education, the selection system for colleges into a more broader way. In terms of like, for example, I went in with a what do you call it, a policy. What do you call them, like chaebol, like yeah, anyways, I didn't go in with the suneung. I went in with my English abilities, also alongside with my extracurricular activities, such as I did like mock model UN sessions. I did a lot of volunteer work. I went to like underprivileged areas, taught taekwondo and English over there, and for like handicapped, disabled people. I also did a lot of work as in leadership during my high school. I was like the vice president of our entire school. I did like the what do you call it, the CFO position of our high school. Like we had like money things, and I was always class president, like no matter what, from middle school to high school. So like these kind of things, these kind of core human experiences, I think shape a person in general, in that person's ability to just socialize and survive and make a living and all that, and become a good father or a family member or something like that, contribute to society, not just memorizing as like a machine, right? So I'm biased probably because I'm a beneficiary of this. And my English skills, people could argue that like I was privileged enough, and that's also like a sign of the economic disparity between like families and stuff, because privileged families get their children outside of Korea and like gear them up with English. But also one could also argue, like despite that fact, English proficiency back in the early 2000s and 2010s, it was a very rare skill. And if a company were to, like, let's say it's a trade company, or let's say like it's a global company, a Korean company that wants global expansion, it would be definitely definitely just rational for that company to put that person into like a higher value position. So I think back in my day, so I think we call it the 정시 and sushi. So the 수능, the CSAT exam is the 정시. I think it was more than like 80%, and then the extracurricular ones were like 20 to 30%. And people really, really don't like the extracurricular metrics and exams, because they say it can get subjective. There are power dynamics and bribery behind like the people that select the people from here. And economic disparity is even more emphasized in this because, if you have more materials and wealth, your children will have more exposure to opportunities like, I don't know, volunteer work or whatsoever. So, like, I think those are fair points, but my point is, like, if you, like, level it to 50-50, then the pool over here is going to expand as well, too. And I feel like it's going to create, like, despite the economic disparity factor and criticism and all that, I feel like it's going to just raise more well-rounded and well-socially contributing people more than, like, memorizing machines. Like, quite honestly, I don't want to downplay the people that have worked super hard for like 10 plus years, cramming math, science, Korean history, everything, world geology and geography and all that. Like, they are superhuman beings too, and they need to be respected about their diligence, their hard work, and memorizing IQ and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I feel like there should be more opportunities, and we should be looking at, like, the potential of a student in other ways too. So that was a very extended version of an answer to your question, but I hopefully it was an interesting one, and hopefully I answered it. Yeah. Anyways, okay. Yeah, let's go on to the next question. But thanks for asking that, because I've always wanted to, like, express my feelings about the exam system in Korea. Yeah. All right. So everyone's saying, like, she's gorgeous. We're still on. Oh, I'm late on the chat, right? Okay. What do you think of the BTS Jimin dating scandal? I think it's just stupid. I already made a video about it in the past, so you could probably probe in the back catalog. I think the woman was in the wrong, definitely exposing his privacy. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, everyone says she looks amazing. Okay. Good question indeed, Nova. Yes, thank you, Ryan. Okay. There are 1001 things that they gotta change. Need to change ASAP. Okay. Let's see. Hello. Okay. Let me just. Yeah, basic knowledge is important, but I understand when it comes down to just memorizing things, you won't learn about it in the end. We need schools to focus more on adapting what you learn. Exactly. The core, not skills, but abilities to just be an all-rounder and a more productive contributor to our society or as an individual. I think those skills need to be learned and focused on more in Korea. And they need to be valued more than just, like, basic knowledge and memorizing skills. That's just my base case. Yeah, my base argument. There is value to some extent forcing people to have to engage with higher education. A society lacking in higher education will eventually harm itself with their own lacking. That's also true. I really, really stand by that, because, like, Korea is living proof of that. Like, we're one of the most highly educated nations in the world with a crazy ambition to just educate our children and all that. And we've made so much economic success, and we're getting results. But as I told you, it's having side effects nowadays in our society. Our society as a whole is crumbling because of that. I think one problem, like, one of the deeply rooted problems does come from education, because that's where all the hierarchy starts from. Yeah, so and then it leads to, like, someone being losers, someone being, like, on top of everybody, and, like, a classist mindset, and yeah, it just crumbles our society from inside and out. Yeah. Okay, next question. Let's go. Is there a political force attempting to fundamentally reform education, or is it an issue that all parties wish to avoid in order to prevent losing elections? That's a great question. So there have always been attempts to reform the education system, but it's just such a solid, concrete. There's always such a concrete force, like a number of people that advocate this current system, thinking that any other system is going to, first of all, the people, the direct people that are affected if education reform happens is the students that are preparing for the CSAT right now. Like, imagine you've prepared that for more than like a decade right now, like you're as a parent and your children too, and suddenly overnight the Ministry of Education says, oh, we're just gonna reduce the quota to like 50% and we're gonna focus more on this. That much of a radical direction will definitely bring upon a very big backlash, and like the voters, number of voters in the parent pool are super big too, so you can't really go against that. So normally they kind of gradually change little tiny bits of the exam system or whatever year by year, or like by presidential administration or by party or something like that. So there hasn't been like a massive reformation. But at the end of the day, this Sunung, the CSAT exam system was all, I'm not sure about this, but a lot of people said that it was adopted by the Japanese exam system. And like, we're in modern era society now, and people are saying like this is very pre-modern. It's not like very scientific nor efficient. It's just like the convenient, easiest way out to get out of all sorts of backlash. Like, okay, we're gonna take a test. Everyone's on the equal, same playing field. We're gonna give you the materials. Do whatever you want, what you can to get the best scores. That's it. It's convenient. Nobody can say anything other than like the discussions about like, oh, like that family has more wealth and could put their kids into more private education and stuff. Of course, there's a lot of backlash for that, but even despite that, we can't find a more fair system or situation than this. So yeah, there's always been some back and forth opposition and support for this system, I would say. Hello, Clara. And good evening, Chris. Korean education needs more exploration. Should prioritize reading and writing over so-called tests. They do nothing. That's exactly what I think. But apparently the majority of Koreans don't agree to that. It's probably because they're the ones that have gone through the exams and they have pride about it, or our society just genuinely believes that like a higher education in the form of knowing everything in all fields, and if you excel in like the consistency and the diligence, which is a pretty big factor in like memorizing things or having the like, I think it's more about like the diligence and consistency. Yeah. That's why there's a lot of criticism about like we have a huge higher education, but the reason like the biggest companies out there that rake in the most amount of money and like that's very creative are mostly like not Korean people. Korean people are good engineers or accountants or doctors, or like we excel in a lot of fields, but like the top heads or like the top corporates of the world, Korean people are very ambitious. So we're like, why aren't we on the top of the chain? And a lot of people point towards our education system, which pretty much shuts down independent thinking and creative thinking, or it's just like you have a big sense of knowledge and you have extreme diligence, you have a lot of memorizing skills, and you're very just well trained, and you really just don't go beyond that. Yeah. Anyways, okay, we talked a lot about education so far, so let's go on to a new topic, okay? Yeah. Let's see. Okay, this is going to be a heated topic, but I felt like this is going to come out anyways today. So let's tackle this. All right. Wait, I just realized that the chat was a little, yeah, a little awkward over there. So definitely, all right. So I wanted to actually address this issue. So Charlie Kirk's death has created a massive Christian revival here in the US. What effect has his death had in Korea? So I'm going to be as neutral as possible as this issue is very sensitive around the world right now. It's creating changes that I can sense that too. So I've seen a lot of posts on Instagram, TikTok, and all these social media highlighting the protests or rallies or movements or whatever you want to call them in Korea with hundreds or maybe thousands of people gathered with posters saying like "We are Charlie Kirk," like "No China, get China out," with the American flags and all that with the cross. So what I want to let you know is that, of course, his death is like a huge global topic right now, and I would not gonna lie, it was a big shock and a big topic in Korea for, I guess, a week, like last week. The news was talking about it, and not quite honestly, not a lot of people knew about Charlie Kirk before his death. So the news started to report about his past work, like what kind of person he is. They described him as a podcaster or influencer or debater that goes around campuses and debates people that oppose his point of views and tries to spread the word of Christ, or and he's a very big supporter of Trump and Israel and all that and blah 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 blah. So the news was giving reports about him, summaries about him. And I think the conservative side in Korea kind of grasped onto that, and they were like, "Wow, this human being is such a smart and competent, bright person. It's such a tragedy that like he had to face something like that." And people actually gathered and made like a rally for that. Whereas that is all true, I will have to say, like, I've been seeing in the comments to those posts saying like, oh, definitely there is an opposition towards like his views and all that. Like, it's divided, right? So there have been a lot of people saying, just seeing those videos, saying like, oh, title like Korea rallies for Charlie Kirk's death, saying "We are Charlie Kirk," and the comments were saying like, "Oh, that's why Korea is going through the low birth rate. They're doomed. Oh, how ironic! Korea is rooting for like their biggest oppressor or like whatever." Blah 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 blah. You can see all those kind of comments, right? You can imagine what they're saying. I will have to say that it's like it looks huge in the video itself, but like as any protest, like if you try to focus your lens on it, it looks like it represents the whole country, but it's not. So I would have to say relatively in Korea, it's not that much of a big topic here. It was hot when it was, but now it's kind of like, but I know that in the US or anywhere else, like the UK or whatever, there have been bigger movements and bigger talks and agendas about this. This has been affecting the media as well too. Some shows have been canceled in relation to this and all that. So I'm not going to get political in this because I know the comments are going to go wild. My base opinion about this is, regardless of his political views or whatever, violence should not be advocated, and shooting someone to death is, yeah, that's wrong. So he's a human being. Rest in peace. That's all I can say about his viewpoints and about the opposition points. I know about like everyone saying, being sarcastic about like, oh, he was a advocate of gun violence and he wanted guns and blah 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 and all that. Like, I'm not even gonna get into that. Okay, so yeah. But what I'm just saying is, it did definitely had an impact in the news. There were some rallies. That was basically it. It's not like our country is like going crazy over his death or anything. It was a shock, and it is a fact that I think if I'm right, like the Korean news covered that his last tour, or like his world tour or something, his last location was Korea. Coincidentally, he came to Korea, and he had this massive like Christian event. I saw videos of it, and he very much complimented Korea, but at the same time, he was very like. Some people got triggered by his comments saying like, "Oh, America is the only reason America made Korea exist right now," which is half right, half wrong. I would say, like, technically half right, half wrong. He mentioned like General MacArthur during the Korean War and all that. And of course, we're eternally in debt to the US for our like independence right now. But like if you go up like in history and all that, like, and if you think of the intentions of the US and all these like complicated dynamics, like the power struggle between and during the Cold War with Russia, China, and the US, and blah 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 blah, and our own history as like a nation that's been resisting to the pre-modern era superpowers like China or Japan for thousands of years. Like, can you disregard all of that? So like, anyways, there was some controversy over his comments about Korea. But anyways, that's just the Korean side, and I will just leave it there, okay? But I'm glad you asked about that, because that's actually a question that fits today's title, Korea Unfiltered. Any question, right? Okay. Okay, let me read some comments and get back on some of the questions. If your question hasn't been answered and you absolutely want it answered, don't spam it, but just like keep it coming throughout the stream, okay? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's see. We need Danny here to add some spice. You know what? Actually, let me spill some tea. This is off topic for sure. But Danny and I, you know, we do DKDK together, right? But last week we did a DKDK town hall thing, council within ourselves, amongst ourselves, and actually Danny's become very different among the recent times, and he's like very concerned about his commentary and his stance on the internet nowadays, since he's in the corporate scene related to music and all. Like, he's trying to, like, you know, play it safe, and he's admitted that, and he's like, you know what, I don't think this is working, because like the old dynamic between DK News, me and him, was like the yin and yang and the ping pong, and you know, him being a little aggressive, me trying to get him controlled a little bit and all that. But you know, nowadays he's like, I don't know, like I need to I need to be a little toned down. Yes. Yeah, sadly he left 2 kids. Yes, he was a father and a husband. So like this, regardless of any kind of viewpoint or perspective, like in a humanitarian perspective, like that is very tragic. Okay. Danny also has a fiance, I think. I'm sure he doesn't want to put her in a spot. That too, yes, exactly. Okay, so let's go on to another question. Let's see. Okay, here's a juicy question that is gonna get me in trouble if I phrase it in a wrong way again. Now, Toster, thank you for the question. Do you think the gender divide will ever heal? women and men viewpoints on life pretty much super different, and the margin is getting bigger. Definitely. I think the gender divide. I don't know. Like it depends on what you define the gender divide as. Like, are you talking about the wage gap, or are you talking about the the gender rights gap, or are you talking about the gender conflict? So many spectrums we can talk about, but I think you're talking more about the gender conflict here, viewpoints on life. I think, yes, definitely the margin is getting bigger. We are having trouble here in Korea to find a middle ground. That's definitely showing up online in the comment sections. There's always a fight between male and female about the slightest little thing or issue. The dynamics just get worse because of military here, and the emphasis on military service, and on how it's only one-sided towards men, and then the women counter back with like birth, and the men counter back is like birth is a choice and you're not even having babies anyways, while military is like a mandatory service. We get 2 years scrapped off our life, and then the women punch back with like, despite all that, you get preferential treatment, and there's like a gender wage gap, and like it's a patriarchal society, so it's hard as a woman anyways. It's a never-ending loop that you can't really solve. And the two genders, or like two sexes to be exact, the two sexes need to actually meet in the middle ground and sacrifice from each other's sides and try to understand each other, and try to compromise or meet in the middle ground in order for a harmonized society to sustain. But like, as I always say, like the low birth rate, of course the economic factor is the biggest one, but I think deep down inside, gender conflict is actually a deeply rooted problem that is not like the biggest problem, but definitely accelerating the low birth rate problem. And nowadays, there's a lot of narrative. Like, a biggest indicator of gender conflict in Korea is actually the high spike of international marriages. Of course, we can't correlate the cause and effect of gender conflict. Like, there's gender conflict, thus there's more international marriage. No, but I would say if there are many reasons to increasing international marriage, there's definitely one narrative there as gender conflict, as Korean men say like, oh, I can't deal with Korean women anymore. They're just so materialistic. They want to marry up. They don't see me as a human being. They just want me for money, and they want blah 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 blah, and they don't want to do like Dutch pay from all those like petty things. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna go marry like just to be raw, a white girl, or someone from like, I don't know, another country, or like a foreigner that understands me. Like, oh, Europeans, they're so like independent and they don't care about money that much. They care about making a family and, you know, respecting each other. Like Japanese women, they're very, you know, respective towards the bread earner, and they value things such as you know, like trying to solve problems together, or relationship over money, like stuff like that. Those kind of narratives are spun on the internet. I don't know if they're true or not, but a lot of people have been anecdotally saying in the comments like their testimony, saying like, oh, I married a Japanese woman and it's heaven. And there's a saying like, oh, if you marry with a Japanese if it says like, if you marry with a Westerner, it feels like a friend. If you marry with a Japanese woman, it feels like what do you call it? It was like a life companion or something like that. There was a wording there. And then there goes to, if you marry with a Korean woman, it feels like you're the ATM or something like that. And when shit hits the fan, the ways of coping are very different. And of course, the misogynistic comment would say at the end, Korean women just decide to divorce, stuff like that. So like, there's definitely like this very hateful narrative spreading on the internet. And like, I'm speaking on only the men's side right now, because I'm definitely exposed to more of that kind of content. Like, not that I'm like misogynistic or I'm watching that content, I'm getting fed because like my demographic and my algorithm. But definitely on the female side, they have their own narrative as well too, like, oh, Korean men, like from the radical feminists and all that, they're so like Confucianist, patriarchal. They don't know how to respect women. They're so like they're all walking red flags. More than half of them have gone to room salons and like prostitution, and they all watch like illegal porn, and like many of them are in Telegram groups that are like minor porn or whatever, and it goes on and on. And they say misogynistic things in Kakao chats with their friends, and the list is like never ending. Okay, so like, the men have their own point of view, the women have their own point of view, and we feel like like each side is like the demon devil to themselves, and the gap is just widening up more and more. That's how I feel, at least on the internet. Okay, but I don't know if this is going to get weaved in or just closed. It's definitely going to widen up for sure. That's my point of view. Maybe it's too pessimistic. There are reports nowadays that the marriage rate is rebounding, but there have been technical assessments that the reason to that rebound of marriage is because of like everyone was delaying it from the COVID era, and like the government's spraying money, so like this is a good time, or blah 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 blah. But yeah. Okay. Great. So let's see some comments. Discuss H1B. Oh, that's such a hard topic. Yeah, I don't have enough expertise or information yet to discuss about it. But yeah, I did hear that Trump actually upped the sponsorship fee for the H1B visa to like $100K per person who's not an American citizen. So if you are now to bring in a foreigner as an American company, or a company that's operating on American soil, to America from either India or Korea or wherever, you'll have to pay $100K for that particular visa. And H1Bs are for like high expert, like people, skilled people, like engineers or coders or developers or whatever. And yeah, they've increased the fees, and people are going crazy. Yeah, so anyways, I don't have enough expertise to discuss about that at this moment. It's an argument loop, exactly. Well, then let women in the military if those 2 years are such a burden to the men. Well, that's easier said than done, quite honestly, and you know why, right? Like, the lawmakers, they care about votes. Half the population is women, and quite honestly, if you are a woman in Korea right now, like, even if you believe in equal rights, right in front of your face, of course everybody's gonna say like, oh, I would stand for that, but like, the majority in an anonymous vote, if a lawmaker were to come and say like, we're trying to legislate a law that we're gonna conscript, like we're gonna make mandatory military service for all women starting next year, do you support? I don't know if that would fly. I don't know if that bill will get passed. Like, I mean, the legislators to get, like, represent and support that vote in the first place would get elected, because that would have to be their campaign policy, right? So yeah, it's not that easy to mandate female military service. I think it's going to happen gradually, and it's going to happen inevitably because of the demographic pyramid right now and the shortage in military soldiers, unless we use like humanoid robots. But I think that time is coming, and there will be national debates and discourse, and I see it brewing, but it's a little premature in my opinion. Everyone brings up Norway, Israel, and they can do that, and women get high official jobs in the military and police. So why can't they do low level or just mandatory service? Like could do like hospitality jobs or support jobs or engineering jobs or IT jobs or whatever, drone pilots. It doesn't make sense for not blah 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 blah. And it's like a huge shit show. Never ending. Yeah. So like I think military service is like a huge thing in the middle, stuck in the gender dynamics and discourse amongst Korean people. Let's see. All right, Michael, thank you for the €5. You've been shooting excellent questions throughout all the past streams, and 230 people watching so far, so please hit that like button if you can. What influence does the SK government have on the media nowadays? Traditional media, but also social media. Nobody really knows. It's not as direct as the US. I've been following. President Trump has been filing complaints or orders or whatever to the FCC, and there have been repercussions to that with was it the Jimmy Kimmel show and the Stephen Colbert show or whatever. But in Korea, yeah, there have been certain cases. There's definitely a left leaning media broadcast, and there's definitely a right leaning one, and they have different funds as well too. So just to lay out the landscape of Korean media with the big ones, on the left side, on the progressive side, JTBC, MBC are the most notable left-leaning outlets out there, and they're thriving right now because it's a left government currently in Korea. So they're getting massive views, massive support, all that. And traditionally on the right side, there's like TV Joseon. Also, I'm talking only in broadcast. Like if you go to newspapers, it's split. But who reads newspapers nowadays, right? TV Joseon has their own newspaper called Joseonilbo, which is like probably one of the biggest and oldest newspapers in Korea. It's like the what do you call it? The legitimate right side media outlet here. And then there's Channel A, and there's also what else? I'm glitching right now. Yeah, I'm having a hard time to think. Yeah, anyways, and then there are the neutral ones like YTN and Yonhap News. But I think in general they do have the freedom of speech and like freedom of journalism and independence, but by government and administration, you can definitely see certain broadcasts doing better than others in terms of funds or support, or it's like like you can't really see it on the outside, but you can definitely sense it, because sometimes like the CEOs or the management or the administration of the broadcast, they get replaced, or they get punishments or whatever. They get some suppression by the government and the Blue House. Yeah, sometimes there are protests within the broadcast because they're saying like, oh, they're gagged and they don't have freedom of press. Like, they have a new director that's not allowing them to publish certain news from the inside, and that new director was appointed by the current government or like someone with power and stuff. So there's always stuff like that, but I don't think it's as direct as like the Jimmy Kimmel Show or something. There was one case though that directly affected me personally. So I was on a radio show called TBS EFM. That's like it's like transportation broadcast. It basically broadcast about traffic situation, which is very important for taxi drivers, bus drivers, and all the commuters out there, right? Like, everyone listens to it. It's not only, it just tells you like, oh, right now we're at 6 p.m. There's a rush hour. There's like a bottleneck in this area at the Mapo district and Gangnam district. Don't take that route. Go take a detour this way, and and beware of like heavy rain over here. And there's like a car crash in this district, so avoid that. And that kind of radio, right? And then they have song breaks in between and ad breaks. It's actually pretty popular among drivers, I would say. I think the only people who listen to radios nowadays are mostly drivers. But yeah, I was on a radio show on the English branch of that broadcast, but the whole radio broadcast itself got eliminated by the current Seoul mayor. He's a conservative, and the reason is TBS had its star show. It had its like Joe Rogan show or the Jimmy Kimmel show, which was basically the bread earner for that entire broadcast because it had such huge following. The show is called Kim Ho-jun Show, and there's this very left guy, a very, very left guy, I would say, who's a representative of that side, who's an influencer and a podcaster, maybe like the Charlie Kirk figure on the left of Korea. And his show was getting like massive audience, like tens and thousands of people per viewing, and so much ads, and he had so much influence shaping the landscape of campaigns and support rates for political candidates and all that. And because it was just blatantly left leaning, the Seoul mayor, who's conservative and has the authority, because like TBS is actually funded by taxpayers and Seoul citizens because it's under the Seoul city government, and like it's a national broadcasting system. He claimed to the Seoul Council that a certain broadcast shouldn't be this blatantly left-leaning, and he prepared certain documents and evidence showing that like they had like fake news, exaggerated news, and they were all that blah blah blah. And the Seoul Council, which the majority was conservative people as well too, they cut all the funds for TBS radio, and his show got abolished, and along with that the ads they were all gone, so there was no revenue system left, so the entire radio system itself was unable to function, which affected me too because I was a panel on that show for like 2 years, and then that got canceled altogether. The host got kicked out, the whole producers and the script writers lost their jobs. So right now there's a massive protest even to this day in front of TBS, but I guess that's a good example of politics getting into media broadcast. Yeah. All right. Unrelated, but you have a very soothing voice. Thank you so much. Just got home from work. Welcome, Carol. Let's see. I'm reading a lot of comments about the H-1B visa, ICE, women in the military, but frankly, we don't have much time left for this stream, so let me move on to another question. Yeah. Hey, with the LAFC shirt, yes. uh Freedom of press is so important to what our country has stood for, and what is happening here now is disappointing and scary. I guess you're referring to the US, right? Let's see. Okay, let's go for a little bit of a more lightweight question that is also juicy at the same time. We've been talking a lot about like the education system, the media broadcast, and all that, but yeah. Um, okay. Any more questions? In the meantime, let me get some Cheetos. Shout out to Cherry again. My favorite of all time. And she also got me the chopsticks here. Maybe I should bring them. But yeah, it's in the kitchen right now. I love them. Fun fact, going back to the gender conflict. You know what the radical feminists in Korea call Korean men? They call them either 6.9ers or Cheetos. And 6.9 means 6.9 centimeters, and Cheetos means, you probably get what they mean, right? You probably get what they mean by Cheetos. Sometimes they refer to Korean men as Cheetos. All right, Ryan, thank you so much for the 6.98 Singaporean dollars. Pizza. David, do you think more Koreans abroad would move back to South Korea if they removed the 50% inheritance tax? Definitely. That is a big thing, especially for rich people. A lot of rich people are immigrating and moving out to Singapore and other tax havens, moving their businesses, moving their wealth. So definitely for rich people, that would be a big catalyst to move back, because the inheritance tax is crazy. Like, our family, I don't want to talk about this, but quite honestly, it's a real reality. We have to deal with it quite soon because of our grandpa situation, and it takes a huge toll. It's almost impossible to build generational wealth here, which might be a good thing in certain viewpoints, but for the middle class and like slightly upper class, that might seem unfair. But yeah. But I definitely think the inheritance tax is like a very hot potato here, because even from the middle and slightly upper class, they're always complaining that inheritance tax in nature shouldn't stand, because we already have income tax and like asset tax, like property tax, whatever, all these other taxes while we're alive. Like, you already take a big chunk of our taxes when we're alive. So it's like double spending for you to claim that we have to pay inheritance tax even when we're dead, right? So why are you double taxing us? It doesn't make sense. But the government's logic is like, we're trying to prevent like immense generational wealth, and also like you use the same logic for income tax and every other tax. Like you use the infrastructure and protection of Korea and all that to gain your wealth, and you're giving it back to society, blah 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 blah, and redistribution of wealth, all those big terms. But in general, people don't really like inheritance tax, and they think Korea has one of the highest in the world, so that is definitely being tackled by a lot of people. Yeah. Why is everybody laughing? Oh, I'll never be able to eat Cheetos again? Cheetos will never be the same? 50% is crazy. It's not 50 for everybody. I think if you have over maybe, I have to check, but like ballpark, if you have over $5 million or something and you're passing that over to your son or whatever family, then it would be 40 to 50%. If it's over like 1 million, then it would be like 30 something to 40%. That's still very high though. That's why the Samsung family needs like a huge plan to pay their inheritance tax. Yeah. So that's why a lot of mega rich families or corporates or chaebols want to leave Korea, because they work all their life, take all the risks, and make a huge conglomerate company, and the country basically takes 50% of it, of the wealth, and their whole family is not left crippled. So I know that Samsung right now is liquidating a lot of their assets, from art to museums to certain lands, property, buildings, certain companies or whatever, in order to pay the inheritance tax from the late Lee Gun-hee that passed away like a few years ago. They still haven't paid the whole fee yet. It's crazy high, yeah. Mm. Books you recommend for beginner Korean learners? I've never been in that situation, so I don't think I can really recommend, but I can definitely recommend you the essential novels or books that we read during our like maybe elementary or middle school curriculum. 한국 유명한 고전 소설, 책, 초등학교, 중학교 수준. Let's see. Yeah, but how would I be able to tell you this? Yeah, these are pretty hard. I'm looking at them and I'm like, I doubt you'll be able to understand all these, even for middle school. Yeah, these are pretty hard. I think elementary school novels would be okay, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm underestimating you, but I'll give you a little screen cap opportunity here for you guys to be able to screen cap this. Let's see if it translates into English. There you go. I think all of these here are classics from Korean modern literature. I've definitely read all of them, but I would say they're pretty hard even if they're middle school level. So I would go to elementary school over here. But these, like in terms of the story structure or complexity, would very much disappoint you because they're intended to be read by children, right? But by language proficiency, I think this would fit like a beginner. But these ones over here, Shower by Hwang Sun-won, Lucky Day, very, very famous story. Little Ball Shot by a Dwarf, very famous story. Toji, Land by Park Kyung-hee, very famous. Wandigi, very famous almond, which was recommended by RM. Yeah, all very famous. But yeah, if you want this list, you could go to ChatGPT yourself, or maybe just screen cap that. Puppy poop, yeah. Sounds like a fun book, right? Kim Soo-hyun, Kim Se-ron situation is pretty much old news now. I haven't heard anything about it within the past few weeks or months, maybe even. Yeah, nobody's talking about it. Let me actually do a quick search if there's any articles about it nowadays at all. Yeah, there are still stuff coming out, but it's all like legal stuff that nobody really is paying attention to. It's yeah, it's about like accounting, money, legal, agency denying controversy over settlement amount, settlement fees, like they're paid 600 million settlement fees, stuff like that. But I don't see high attention on this case, quite honestly. Yeah. My puppy is asleep. She's with my mom in the next my room. David, 존댓말 versus 반말 within a husband/wife relationship, as well as between siblings. If the wife is older, I mean, if any kind of intimate relationship can be 반말, yeah, and definitely between siblings too, 반말. It's not like definitive. Like if you're older, you always have to use honorifics or 존댓말. That's not the case. I use 반말 to my mom and my dad. I use 반말 to Jin. He's a hyung. He's 2 years older than me. But like if I'm not close to somebody and he's 1 year older than me, I would still use 존댓말. So I think it's the level of intimacy you have, how close you are to that person. And while some people choose to use 존댓말 between husband and wife, I've honestly only seen that in dramas or mega rich families. Everyone around me, like including my parents, my grandparents, my friends, everyone who's a partner or a couple never uses 존댓말. You might use it occasionally if you're in front of a public setting or a group of people and like you're speaking to each other. So my mom and my dad, they're meeting their friends. It's a group of like, I don't know, 5 or 6 people. And if they're talking amongst themselves, just not to embarrass themselves, they would maybe switch to 존댓말, but that would still be awkward to them. Yeah. Bookstores like Barnes and Noble. We have those big bookstores. Actually, it's a big problem in Korea because like the little bookstores are all going extinct. But I think that's just the general fate of books in general in bookstores. We have the big ones like 교보문고. We have Bandy and Loonies. I don't know. I think that's a foreign one. But 교보문고 is the biggest one, and the most accessible one as a tourist or visiting Korea would be the one in Gwanghwamun Station in the Kyobo building, basement 1 level. It's connected to the Gwanghwamun Square, the subway. You can directly access it. Yeah, and yeah. I once heard someone say you can use 반말 with people you can fart around. That would be a good standard. Yeah. I use Talk to Me in Korean. Nice mix of books and sound examples. Yeah, they are a trusted source. I know the CEO and the owners. I've interviewed them, and I know a lot of mutual friends. He's a wonderful person. All right, so we're nearing the end of the stream. I'll get one more answer, and we will transition to the second stream. Is that okay for you guys? We will go on to Patreon after this, so if you want to join the Patreon stream for this episode over here, where is it? Yeah, so the next stream is going to be about life, death, and family, Korean funerals, in memories of my grandpa, on Patreon as an exclusive podcast. Only accessible free if you join it now as a free member in real time. Unfortunately, replay viewers won't be able to access it once it's turned into private. But if you join Patreon membership right now as a free tier, you'll be able to join in the next stream. Do you know if you can just go to the palace at night and purchase tickets, or you must pre-book tickets? For the night tour, I think you have to pre-book tickets. That's what I did. And there's usually a lot of demand for that. Yeah, you probably have to pre-book. Will you ever do an interview with BTS? I hope so. Where's the Patreon link? You can just go to patreon.com/koreanpizzaclub, or if you check the description box on this video, there is a link to Patreon. All you have to do is sign up as a free member and wait for the post to show up. I've set it as to get posted in 5 minutes at 2:10 KST. Right now it's 2:05, so in 5 minutes you'll see the post generate. Many thanks for making it available for us. No problem. All right. Last set of questions, guys. 5 minutes left. Yeah, I definitely think today's live stream, while I didn't plan on doing it, definitely made me feel better. Like getting back to normal. I'm gonna visit my grandpa tomorrow at the National Cemetery. No more questions? Oh, today I spoke really slow and chill, and it's already been an hour and a half. Wow. I can't pronounce that name, AJ, because it doesn't seem to be written in Korean. That's so nice to hear it made you feel better. Thanks for streaming. No problem. What do you think of SHINee compared to BTS? I mean, if you're like, they're two different generations with two different backgrounds and environments and settings. SHINee was definitely a huge group back then. They had their own unique set of songs and distinct characteristics. Ring Ding Dong, the drug song, along with a lot of other hit songs, Lucifer. They had their own, addictive choreos and all. Very colorful, representative SM group. A long lasting, I would say. The individual members are all very active on TV nowadays, even. Tragic event with Jonghyun, though. But BTS is just like unprecedented. Like, they're. Yeah. I mean, it's you can't even compare. Crash override. What are contractions in Korean? I don't know what contractions are. Sorry, I can't answer that. Contractions. That's probably out of my expertise because I have no idea in anything about Korean. Contractions. Oh, it's like I am, I'm. There's stuff like that in Korean? Let's see some examples. 아, 저는, 전, 나는, 넌. You'll have to go to Talk to Me in Korean for that. 저에게, 제게. Yeah. Like, as native English speakers yourselves, you don't really know the structure of grammar, right? So same with me. It's just more just natural. I can't explain that, I'm sorry. Got a silly question. Who is the most supported PL team in Korea, Manchester United or Spurs? Some United legends was in Korea with Park last week. Caused a mini online debate. Nowadays, it's definitely the Spurs. Definitely. Like, I mean, Sonny was just there until, like, last year, so... This year, actually, technically. So, you can't debate with that. What's your MVP in the MLS? I do not watch the MLS except the Sunny highlights, so I have no idea. MVP in the MLS? Wouldn't it be Messi? Is he even playing? That's how much I'm detached from that league. Do you have a fond memory that you can share with us about your grandpa? We'll definitely share in the Patreon stream. After this, in 1 minute, you'll see a post pop up on Patreon. Nova, hello. What part of Korea is the hardest to understand because of their accent or dialect? Jeju, for sure. If you actually meet native Jeju Islanders, Korean people can't even understand what they're saying. Like, it's a totally alien language to us. I have no idea what they're saying. All the other ones, they've been pretty much used in dramas, or like people have migrated to Seoul, and from the Gyeongsang province to the Jeolla province, Chungcheong and Gangwon, they all have their accents and dialects, but the root is pretty much the same. Like, I mean, the Jeju dialect, the root is the same too, but it doesn't go that far off. But the Jeju dialect is like, yeah, I don't think it's being passed on though. Like, only the Haenyos or like the really old people that live in Jeju still use it. But the younger people, like nowadays, the younger people in Jeju in the first place, they have migrated from the land to the island in seek of more of a peaceful setting, or doing a restaurant business there, or a farm or whatever. But the actual native aboriginal people that have been living there for decades with their families and stuff, like you can't understand what they're saying. I can't even imitate because I don't even know the words. It's like heskang, deskang, gonggang. I'm not trying to be racist or anything. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let me try to get a Jeju dialect. Jeju 사투리. So there's this viral clip of a grandma using Jeju dialect, which, yeah, let's see if you can hear it.
아이고 벼락 터져짐신가 여 터져진 줄은 모르고 영에 나 구거들랑 영해 다 먹도록 저만 점들 앉았다 이 새동네 사람들 소리는 아이고 벼락 터져짐신가 여 터져진 줄은 모르고 영에 나 구거들랑 영해 다 먹도록 저만 점들 앉았다 이 새동네 사람들 소리는 아이고 벼락 터져짐신가 여 터져진 줄은 모르고 영에 나 구거들랑 영해 다 먹.
This person says it sounds like English. This person says he or she has been living in Jeju Island for 7 years, but I have no clue what she's saying. It says like, wow, this is in a different dimension from the Gyeongsang and Jeolla dialects. I have absolutely no clue on how to interpret this. Yeah, like it's impossible. Sounds like Arabic. Yeah, but it's definitely a dying language because nobody is speaking it. Or, yeah, Daegu is pretty bad, but it's very understandable. Like, yeah, it's the same as Gyeongsang. Gyeongsang province is pretty much the same, but their intonations are a little different. Like, so Busan, quite honestly, I'm a Busan person, but I'm not that proficient in Busan dialect in like to the level that I can distinguish it from Daegu or Busan. So apparently Daegu has a little bit of a stronger accent, and they have like a more emphasis on the front. Like I can't even, yeah, but they sound similar to me. But like real Busan people actually know, like, oh, you're not from here, are you? I did not understand a word of that. Me neither. Yeah, maybe it's because it's the audio. But like, here's another guy. Here's a younger guy.
야, 이게 무슨 말이니? 모르면 상상조차 할 수 없어. 여기다가 심지어 무사, 마시 이거 하나로 다 끝낼 수 있어.
So apparently this word means something that's a very widely used term in Jeju dialect. It's musa and mashi. I have no clue what that is. Musa would mean warrior in just Korean, but mashi, I don't know what that means.
이게 왜냐는 뜻이야. 이거는
So musa apparently means why. So when Korean people ask like what's the reason why, they would be like 왜 그래? In Jeju dialect they would be like musa. I have no clue.
존댓말. 왜요?
Oh, mashi is the jondaemal, the honorific for musa.
오. 이것만
It's weyo.
아직도 이미 끝난 거야. 다른 지역 이런 어딨냐? 축약형도 알려줄까? 축약형?
I have no idea. Like, yeah, I have no intention to learn it either. So, yeah, 무신사. Yeah. Okay. Alright guys, so it's been 2:10. Let me check if the post has been generated on Patreon, and if it has safely, I will move on to that stream and proceed. I think it has been generated, so let me actually give you the post link over here in the chat so you can access it. There you go. I'll put in the pinned comment. There you go. Oh, I noticed no PayPals today. Maybe, yeah, maybe I did. I missed them. I don't think so. Yeah, but all right, so you can click the link over here in the pinned comment and check out the post. it should show that the stream is on standby. You'll have access to it only if you come now. And pro tip for those of you who aren't really that trained with using Patreon interface. So if you go to the post over here, you'll find the post, and once the stream starts, you'll be able to see it over here. But I recommend you clicking on this title over here, up there, right? Like, you see the title there in the upper left side. If you click on that, that redirects you to the YouTube site where you'll be able to chat and do everything. I see some people chatting in this comment section over here on the Patreon post. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see your comments real time. So, yep. I'll see you over there, okay? See you guys. See ya in life.